listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Glee After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Glee After Show. Everybody get up.
Just when you thought you were sick of this song, it's back, Glee version style. Here we go. Hi, everybody. We are here doing another... Oh, Roxy's not done singing. Okay, so we're here doing another Glee after show for you all. This is episode 5 of season 5, The End of Twerk. And we're getting, I don't think we're getting a full-on twerk from Roxy here, but that's okay.
You can't twerk while you sit.
True.
I can
tell that to Artie, though.
Artie
was doing a pretty good job of it tonight. But I'm Stephanie Wenger, and in the booth we have Marisa. Say hi, Marisa.
Hello, everyone. Yes. Hello.
And girls, want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Roxy Striar.
Hi, Roxy. I'm Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Welcome,
Sarah.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I know. Sad to not have you here last week, but
I missed you guys.
We need you as our optimistic bunny.
I'm here.
we got into like a full-on debate, Roxy and I, last week, so
We kind of always do.
it's exciting.
It's not a love-hate because there's no hate, but it's a love-love-hate.
Yeah.
Love.
There's a lot of love and just like a smidge bit of hate.
Oh, truth is coming out right here.
But that being said, we should get into the episode, The End of Twerk. This episode was a fun one. It went back to kind of, we've seen this idea of the Glee Club rebelling before, and that's what this episode, at least what Mr. Schue wanted them to do, rebel against the status quo and go against what people expect. And I don't know that I fully got that message in the episode, but that was the point.
Right. I don't know if Mr. Schue is just completely ignorant to what twerking actually is, but his argument about why it should be allowed in school / his singing of blurred lines, which we'll talk about later, but just like him being completely oblivious to what it was actually talking about. I mean, he's so smart and he's a teacher. What did he just not get this twerking rebellion thing, and that teenagers can rebel but teachers can't really?
He used the excuse, I believe, that it was that he wanted to blur the line for Sue. And I was like, did you not listen to the... We won't get into an in-depth description of the lyrics of this song, but go ahead and listen to it. Clearly, it's
My little virgin ears.
It's not about what Mr. Schue was saying it was about. It's not about blurring the line for someone else. It's about relationships and blurring lines and relationships.
Or as they say tonight, date rape on the show.
Well, that's what
I was not going to go there, Roxy.
That's what they said on the show.
Okay.
Honestly, it just, this whole twerking rebellion thing made me so uncomfortable, just like the Robin Thicke performance with Miley Cyrus. And
You were squirming a
I
bit
was
during a lot of these performances tonight.
like, this ain't right.
Yeah.
You know?
It didn't feel like, to me, something that would, happen in a school ever. I mean,
so it's not realistic, is what you're saying.
I mean, it happens a lot on Glee, but I felt like this was really pushing that line. And we saw Mr. Schue and Sue kind of debate that, whether Sue was on the side of what I think any school principal would say, which is twerking is not for school time.
Right, that was not her being mean. That was very reasonable.
Yeah, and
I felt like Sue was the reasonable, rational one, and Will was like all over the place. I'm like, Will, this is so out of character for you. You're all about like self-respect, and twerking's really not something that you should be proud of.
I know. / making people get in these sexy costumes.
Yeah, and Will's condoning this kind of behavior from all the teenagers, and he's fighting for it.
And he's like,
yeah.
oh,
Really?
Unique, you can really pop your booty. And it's like, you're a teacher.
You're a teacher. And we've seen this, we mentioned last week with Sam dating the nurse. Like, they're really going in a weird direction on Glee right now with kind of blurring the line between, I'll say, staff and students?
Yes, I was just really happy not to see Penny tonight. No offense, but just was not in the mood to have another line blurred.
Yeah.
Way too many
but
lines already tonight.
I think you're right. Honestly, this song to me, even though we might be a little over the song, even though the performance, whatever, it does fit what's going on in the theme of Glee right now. You have to admit, just not the actual lyrics of the song, but the term blurred lines.
I completely agree with you that yes, there are lots of blurred lines on Glee, but I didn't feel like that was the actual theme of the episode.
Right.
It was an episode about rebellion and other things, and so it was interesting to have this be the song choice. We'll get into all of our thoughts on these songs because I know we have a ton of them tonight. But
I'd have to disagree with that, and I really do see it being about blurred lines with Unique and her situation with the bathrooms, with blurred lines of relationships between Jake, Marley, and Bree, and there's just like a lot of crossing lines that was going on.
Oh, I can see absolutely on the show that there are blurred lines going on. I just meant the theme that he wrote on that board that didn't.
Twerk.
Yeah, the twerk. Like it didn't all relate to that necessarily, but
Oh, totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
I wrote that down too.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that Mr. Shu's not setting, or by the end of the episode maybe, but at the beginning, not setting the best example for his students.
No. And I thought it was so off that he was comparing the trend of twerking to
the
the
history.
waltz and the whatever it was.
To
And
go
the mashed
through-
potato.
Yeah, and all of those trends. I get
Charleston.
dancing trends, but you know what? I think there's just like such a terrible taste in our mouths about twerking because of the Robin Thicke and Miley Cyrus performance.
I don't have a bad taste about twerking. I think twerking is fun and it's spirited. I just think that in school,
I was gonna
what the
say,
hell are you thinking?
there's a time and a place for twerking, and I don't know that it's a high school hallway.
Right.
But
Definitely not.
yeah.
And by I don't know, you mean hell no.
Yeah.
By hell no, it's not. It's not the right place for it. But I was trying to be nice.
Or as Marisa would say.
Right. So, in that way, it's just
I
an
miss
interesting.
Mercedes.
It's an yeah. Oh, Amber Riley, so
Oh,
good.
that made me really miss her.
So good on Dancing with the Stars. But it was interesting to see this episode. Mr. Shu's character did change dramatically in a lot of ways. He was encouraging them to act in a way that previously he would have never encouraged.
Yeah, he would not have condoned that. And I didn't think that change in his character was, I thought it was out of the blue. Usually when his character changes, it's because something happened with Emma or something, it just seemed like he let his hatred for Sue be the catalyst for this, which
Yeah.
isn't
Right.
typical of him.
Absolutely.
And I know they were using Finn's death for changes in some of the characters tonight, and I was wondering if this was going to be a Will reacting to that tragedy.
Right.
But nothing was even mentioned to that end.
If
with-
he was like, sometimes you have to live a little because you never know what's going to happen the next, something like that. But
nothing
no,
was
you're right.
mentioned.
I will say that his history of dance, what he did to get his job back, we should say that he was fired by Sue for the twerking, got his job back by showing this history of dance thing. It made me want them to do like a full-on, like those were like tidbits of dance, and I wanted to see like an episode
Right.
of the history of dance because that seemed really fun. It just was not placed in the right way.
Especially the Elvis pelvis. I was like, I
Yeah.
can watch that for a little bit.
I know. Well, like the mashed potato, if you think back to like Hairspray,
Yeah.
this is such a fun one.
Potato.
Yeah.
Kitty was so cute doing that.
Adorable. And we mentioned Unique, and his storyline tonight was all about where do you belong, and that did fit. I agree with the blurred lines concept.
We're talking about Unique right now?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that Unique was very, this was my favorite part of the episode by far. I thought the performance was incredible. I'm not talking about the song. I'm talking about just throughout the episode, the emotion. It was so there for me. And I think that this is an issue, yes, that Glee has covered, but we kind of just threw Unique on the show, and I felt like tonight went really in depth to see little everyday, I mean, not so little, but everyday things that affect Unique. And I love Unique as a character, and I wanted to know.
I agree, and this was an opportunity to really explore those issues. And I think that, again, in a high school environment, it's interesting because they're doing some things where it's super realistic. The unique storyline tonight would be something that would realistically happen in a high school, that there would be that struggle, unfortunately.
Absolutely. I mean, the way the jocks handled that situation, obviously, it makes you want to punch them all in the face.
Right.
Just the same reaction that Jake and Ryder and Sam all had. But violence is not the answer, as we have learned.
But I'm glad that Jake and Ryder did stand up after and showed that support for Unique, because last season, technically the same year, but we saw Ryder, he had problems with Unique and his sexuality, but he came around.
That was only because of, I think that Ryder had issues. He had just as big of an issue when he thought it was Marley as when it was Unique, you know? It had nothing, I don't think that had to do with who Unique was or the way that Unique just finds whatever about herself, but I think that it was more about him being so devastated and hurt and completely betrayed by somebody who considered a friend. I don't think that he ever had a problem with Unique and...
Yeah, I think that, that wasn't necessarily an issue about... Yeah, it was more about the betrayal.
I do get confused, though. I don't know what... This is just maybe ignorance on my part, but does Unique prefer to be called she? Or I know tonight episode it was called he. Do you guys know?
I want to say she.
She.
Yeah.
She. Okay.
I think Unique for sure identifies himself as a girl.
I think she was mentioned both ways tonight, but that's something that maybe our fans can tweet at us or let us know what they're thinking, because I think it really was referenced both ways tonight. So go on iTunes, rate, comment, let us know what you're thinking about that storyline, everything. Did you like the twerking episode? Did you want to hear more blurred lines? Were you not over that song? I know we mentioned last week we were. Maybe you guys were like, I can't get enough. I loved it. So let us know what you think of the song selection, what we're doing here. We love reading all of your comments. I love when you tweet me. It's the best. So thank you.
The best makes my whole week.
And also on YouTube, you guys are amazing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The love that we get from the show, it just brightens my day.
Yes,
so
I love it.
We're such gleeks.
Exactly. And we're being a little critical tonight, but I think this episode...
It's because we care.
Exactly. We want the best.
because we love the show so much.
Yeah, exactly. So we definitely want to hear your thoughts, though. Maybe you loved it and we're just being negative. I don't know. Anyways, moving on to Marley, Jake, and Bree, who... Oh, this is the love triangle I never wanted to have happen. And I don't even want to call it a love triangle because it's really not. It's Jake. So we wondered last week whether he actually did what it looked like he did on the episode, which is cheat on Marley.
Right.
And
you heard me last week. I was praying. I was like, I really don't think he did. I hope he didn't.
I know.
I was wrong.
And it just, to me, looked like it had to be the case. And of course, this week, we not only find out that that happened, but the way Marley finds out was devastating. To have the other girl come up to you and announce it.
And
like
literally
a freckle on the hip.
rub it in your face.
Yeah.
Oh, and to announce it in such an intimate way. Like, I know where the freckle on his hip is.
And when you kiss it and he freaks out a little bit, oh, wait, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I just wanted we got to get her in studio because we have
we're
to ask
still
her.
planning on getting her.
She seems, through correspondence, like the sweetest thing, and so we have to see what it's like playing a role that is such a complete bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, I guess I can say bitch because if Becky says bitch all day long, but she really has said bitch the last 6 episodes.
No,
And there's only been 5.
Becky saying bitch, I don't think that was necessary. I mean, yeah, maybe it was funny, but it was so
Out of
not
place.
necessary.
And I feel like, wouldn't you think Will would say something?
Yeah, I mean, a student calling a teacher a bitch.
Inappropriate.
That's so
Right.
wrong.
I couldn't agree with you more on
She's
the
so
bit.
protected by Sue. That's
Right,
why.
exactly. I mean, she's never going to get in trouble. She's Sue's right-hand girl.
Secretary.
Yeah,
Secretary.
100%. But to go back to Marley and
Friday.
Jake,
Yeah, sorry.
no, this is just one of those things where we all didn't want it to happen. We initially thought that Marley and Jake would be, I think we mentioned it last year, I hate to say it now, but the new Finn and Rachel type couple.
Yeah.
And that's just clearly not the case.
This is when I remembered that he's a Puckerman.
This is what
Like, I
I
kind of forgot that they were related until tonight, like, or last episode.
Right. This is when I remembered what he was like pre-Marley. I
Yeah.
mean, we didn't like him at first. He was kind of a little dirtbag, but I don't know. And I always was skeptical with her going with him over Ryder.
Ryder seems like such a good guy.
I know.
And
but good
consistent.
guys finish last.
And
Let's all hope not.
Ryder doesn't seem like the kind of person who would cheat.
No.
Never.
But Jake, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out on the show, for sure. Whether, I mean, it looked like Marley was obviously going to end things with Jake, or essentially did in a lot of ways.
But, like, what would it say for a girl on this show to forgive, like, a guy who cheated on her in that way? You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be a good statement to make.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but talking about statements to make, I think this show is making a lot of bad statements with the will thing, with the tattoo thing, with
Exactly.
when to take risks, with what to, you
Yeah.
know.
I was just gonna say the same thing. I was like, this show's condoning a lot of negative
Behavior.
outcomes.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Okay. When people say one's a cheater, always a cheater, I think that is in general true. I do think that there's a truth to that, but I do think there are exceptions to the rule. But at the same time, if Marley was to right this second get back with him, oh my God, that's just an awful message.
Well, I think what we're really talking about here is that Glee is, like, these kids obviously need to make mistakes, and it's okay to show those on air, but what, in a lot of ways, what they're saying is, like, throw caution to the wind, and it'll work out.
Right.
And I don't know that the idea of, like, cut your hair before a we'll talk about all this in a second, but cut your hair before a Broadway show and you'll still have the part. Everything will work out just fine. Anyone who works in this industry knows that that would be a no-go in 100 different ways.
You would get fired.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Like, you would get fired, no questions asked, because just the kind of person you are.
Yeah, I mean, that's showing that you are not responsible, and that was
And if you got a tattoo,
Yeah.
you'd also get fired.
Yeah, it's one of those things where tonight it felt like rather than showing rebellion, they were showing a lack of responsibility. And I think that's the wrong message to send to young people who are watching the show.
You know what else is the wrong message to send? Ryder's sideburns. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah, you did point that out.
Roxy.
Because they were
Huge. They were huge.
Ryder is such a smoke show.
Yeah.
To put those on such a good-looking male. Wrong message to send. Oh, dear God, just trim them a little bit. They were like their own little froze.
Want to, message Blake Jenner about that?
Yeah, we got to get him back in here so I
Yeah.
can tell him.
Yeah.
Get rid of that.
We
But
should
you
do
know
a
what he...
live sideburn cut here in studio.
I guarantee you he wanted to cut them, but he didn't because he had this role and they didn't tell him to. And that's what professionals do.
I was also
Rachel Berry.
I also wanted to give one defense to Glee tonight and say that an issue that Ryan Murphy has mentioned over and over again that he wants to deal with on Glee is bullying. And they did address bullying in some capacity tonight.
Are you talking about when Bree pointed at the no bullying sign?
Oh, and the fact that Bree
Thank
was
you. Yes.
bullying like right before she
Right.
did that, and then she like turned it on Marley saying, "Oh, you're bullying," but you just did it 1 minute
I
before
mean,
that.
yes,
And
there was
unique.
some hypocritical activity in that tonight, for sure. But I think what,
Unique as well. with
Yeah.
The bullying.
What are the chances that a sign that says bully free zone actually works any percentage?
No.
it doesn't. But I think that if you show the right way to stand up, and that's not necessarily physically fighting back, and that's what they showed with Unique tonight, that there's another way to be yourself and continue to thrive in high school, maybe that is an okay message.
As you just mentioned, Unique, I just quickly wanted to go back to her for 1 second because we didn't mention the porta potties.
Yes.
And that was just something I wanted to throw out there, that I liked that comic relief of Tina and the porta potties this episode. That's all I had to say on that.
I feel like I agree with you. They used it in a comedic way with the question marks.
Yeah.
And but it also felt, in a sense, like Sue was bullying. I mean,
Unique.
Absolutely.
Unique. And that I think in that situation would cry. Like, I think there's like a deeper level to this episode that wasn't really addressed.
That's true, but at least I appreciate it because otherwise, Sue was in the right all episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I appreciated that she was still the villain because of this move. Had she not done this, we would have all sided with Sue. Like, it's completely reasonable to be the principal and not want your students to dress like that and act like that in the hallways.
I couldn't agree with you more. I just had to say that we were saying that they were sending lots of bad messages.
Right,
And
this was another.
They tried with the bullying to do something. I don't know that it fully worked.
Okay.
Yeah. That being said. Agreement. I like it.
Yes.
I was like, that being said, time to move on to
Groundbreaking. Right now.
no, first time in a long time that we've agreed on something, but we're trying new things tonight. It's good. We're rebelling against the status quo in our own show.
We're gonna have a twerk off one of these days.
I mean, I'm
I
sad.
would love to see that actually between you two.
I can set that up right now.
Take it back. Oh my god, I wish I never said anything.
I was gonna say we got Phil last week to agree to possibly twerk on our show, and who is not engineering our show tonight? Phil.
I should call him on speaker.
Yeah.
I know.
Hey, Phil.
Yes. So,
I could arrange that too.
but again,
You know somebody who knows somebody?
yeah. Again, with the rebellion tonight, we had Rachel and Kurt. We mentioned her cutting her hair for the Broadway show that she's in, Funny Girl. I'm sure you watched the episode.
Well,
if you're watching
faking
this.
cutting her hair.
Right.
Yeah,
I
fake.
knew that was a
yeah.
wig.
Yeah, I
I knew
mean,
that.
we saw stills, or at least I saw stills of it while they were shooting with
Right.
the shorter hair, and Leah Michele did not cut her hair.
Although, I thought that it looked awesome.
Oh, it
Yeah.
looked phenomenal on her.
And then when she took the wig off, I was like, wow, I kind of wish she would do that to her hair.
It was super cute on her, but
It just really complimented her face shape.
yeah, I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did, in all honesty.
Right. Probably my very least favorite moment of the episode was after she's talking to Kurt about the hair and takes off the wig, and she's saying you have to risk it all, whatever. And he says, "Does this have to do with Finn?" That line just pissed me off so much, as if like, does this have to do with you failing your math test?
Yeah.
It was the way it was phrased, like just so thrown out. And I know that people on our
His
YouTube
delivery,
page,
you mean? Like
I-
the way he delivered the line?
it wasn't even the way, just that line. I guess it was delivery. I don't know whether it's writing, delivery, situation. But people on YouTube have been talking a lot how they really don't like how we had the Finn episode, and then it's only barely mentioned. I don't know how I would fix this problem, because no, we cannot spend the rest of Glee mourning Finn, morning, afternoon, night.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. I just think that even a slight language change, like I think he said, what was it? That it was like, is this about Finn? If it was like, are you still hurting because of Finn? Like some slight language
Right.
difference, like in the script, that could have made all the difference. It felt off the cuff rather than like an emotional, again, missing that deeper level.
Right. I just felt like he needed to sit her down and be like, just so you know, I'm here and you're here for me. Like some sort of conversation or something. Does this have to do with Finn? It sounded like how, I don't know. It
was
just
just
really
thrown
bothered
out
me.
there.
Yeah.
It just did. And I don't want to put blame on Chris Colfer, because I think he's so fantastic. So I don't know. I just think that maybe they're all still hurting about Finn, that or about Corey, that they don't feel comfortable going to that deeper level every time.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to eventually, as hard as it is,
Yeah.
go to work and do your job. But, and in that being said, you don't have to dredge up your feelings
Right.
week after week.
Because again, there was even that line with Rachel, and she said, "It's been a really hard month." And I even didn't see the emotional weight on that line, again, it sounded like, oh, my dog peed on the bed, and
Right.
my trash, I forgot to take it out, so it smells. It's been a really hard month. Like,
As
Like, it wasn't as
Yeah.
profound as it should
Right.
have been.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
I totally hear you, and as hard as it is for us to hear it that way, there is a truth to that phase of mourning for someone. Like some people go there which is not going there.
right, I guess I'm just so not there about Corey, so I feel like it's, I don't know, it just feels a little contrived to me.
And that being said, we do have some news and gossip, and I think Leah Michele is not to that point either. So
Right.
she's been talking in interviews about Corey, and it's clear that she's probably not there either.
Right.
So we'll talk about that in a bit. I did...
Can't wait.
I know. Ooh. But so Rachel, I did think it was nice to get, I feel like we have seen Kurt be a little bit in a box, and I don't know that this is the way I wanted to see him get out of the box, but
They both ended up with these great, meaningful tattoos that they loved, you know? Like, I don't know. I kind of had a problem with that.
And a piercing to boot.
Yeah, and the tongue piercing. And
The piercing was weird.
And they were so supportive of each other. Don't get me wrong. You guys know me. Anybody who watches the show knows that I'm like the wild child. You know, I do my own thing, and I get drunk and make stupid decisions. We're humans. You know, we do things. But
as I was saying earlier, everyone makes mistakes.
Right. But that's the point. People do make mistakes, and I've made mistakes before, and I've gone out and done things, and I'm like, the next day, it's like, you know what? I needed that for life, but that probably wasn't the smartest move. I wanted a little bit of acknowledgement, like, we know that we're being silly, but we have to do it anyway.
Well, where I wanted the show to take a different turn was when Kurt realized the tattoo was wrong. He woke up hungover. To realize, like, this isn't who I am. Right. And to find some other way of expressing himself rather than going and getting the tattoo fixed, which I guess he was happy with in the end, so props to him. But
the tattoo artist said something very interesting to him that really completely, I agree with the sentence, but okay, anyway, he says, you step back now and you'll never take another risk again.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that, because you know when you do something and you mess it up, like, or say you're a dancer and you fall and you're scared to get back up and do it again because you're scared you'll make a mistake. If you don't do it right then and there, then you're probably not going to be able to do it.
It's like getting back up on the horse once you're bucked off.
But I mean, so I agree with that, right? That was a better reference. Yeah. But in terms of tattoos, I don't think making a mistake with a tattoo, if you don't get another one right then and there.
No, I mean,
I just didn't. It was a weird analogy to me.
I understand that, like, people who get tattoos, there's, like, a thing about getting more and more of them. Like, friends of mine who have them say, like, they always
get
want
a high from it. Or
whatever. They want another one. Great. But I think there has to be people in this world who get a tattoo and realize it's not for them. And that's okay, too. Like, they have the one, and that's enough.
Right. I don't know. Just you step back now, and you'll never take another risk again. Yeah. That is such a meaningful sentence. And when you think about that with a tattoo, you step back now from getting tattoos, and you'll never take another risk again. Like,
getting another tattoo?
What? Like, I don't know. It just seemed...
It was a strange
I don't think getting tattoos was the best way to handle their loss and being in a funk kind of, in life. I don't think that was the best way to go about it. I think there was a better alternative to that.
And also taking swigs right before of
alcohol.
Yeah,
and they were drinking before that, so they're obviously not thinking straight, and then they're doing this craziness.
Right.
I mean, we've dealt with underage drinking, I should say, before on the show.
Yeah, but it's just showing, like, this episode, they're showing all the wrong ways to approach things.
Right. What I will say is realistic. It is a little realistic that they would be drinking, that they would be doing things that are uncharacteristic, but what isn't good about it is the way that they're portraying it as okay.
Yeah.
You know, you can't expect them to be coping with this perfectly, but then that should be addressed that they're not coping with it perfectly.
Well, I thought what was interesting is they mentioned it right before a commercial break. I think Rachel says, like, let's use it as anesthesia.
Yeah.
And anesthesia, like, not to feel. And that's kind of what we saw in their lines tonight, was that they weren't feeling whatever they're going through. So, I mean, I'll save it for predictions, but I think we haven't seen the end of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I agree with that. And I will say, though, I thought that it was my favorite part about this was that Rachel didn't show her tattoo, and that she said, what am I going to get on my body that I'm going to love for the next 50 years?
It was the sweetest moment.
And then you saw the fin. I thought that I even have shivers saying it. I really love that.
Did anyone, like, love the irony that was this whole storyline? Because we know that Chris Colfer, he said in an interview that he will never, ever get a tattoo. And, his character got a tattoo on the show. And then Leah has, like, 7 to 8 tattoos. Lord knows how many tattoos she has. And then her character said that she didn't get one. So I just found the irony in this episode.
They had to cover Leah Michelle up tonight because I think they are, like, on her arms and things.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Yeah, and ankles and things like that. So we didn't see them tonight. I don't think you ever really do on the show, but
no, Rachel Berry would not.
No, but she does have a lot of them, and I kept thinking about that. It was one of my favorite moments in the episode, seeing that little tattoo. And also, for all you Gleeks out there, it's rumored that Leah Michelle actually has a tattoo for Corey. The last thing he said to her, and it's "if you say so." So guess you can try to spot that in paparazzi pictures,
Wow.
but
Do you know where it's supposed to be?
I don't recall, but I know it's If You Say So, and it's allegedly the last thing he said to her. So, sad. Yeah. Should we jump into songs and switch gears?
Yes, please.
Yeah, before we jump more
know, I
into
just got
that.
depressed.
I was like, that's a really sad thing. So the first song tonight was You Are Woman, I Am Man. It's from Funny Girl and Rachel, and Pablo San Pablo, her co-star, was singing it with her.
Ian Garfield. Oh,
Yeah.
he's gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that it was fun, and I liked their interactions and the playful around the room. Sure.
Yeah, I thought it was beautifully sung, but they lack chemistry. Like, as for whatever reason, you've seen Rachel have chemistry, not just with Finn, with many people on the show, and
Probably very hard to be romantic with somebody right now.
yeah, and she was not. It was not the most romantic I've ever seen her be. Maybe it's beginning of rehearsals, and that chemistry will improve. And then, by the way, I love seeing Peter Facinelli on the show. So
He's
much
so
fun.
gorgeous. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sarah.
I just gotta say, I think yes, the scene was a bit forced between the two characters because one, we just saw her haircut, or her alleged haircut, so we're getting used to that. And I think it was the age difference that was really throwing me off.
It was
And
the
I
age.
get, it's the story, it is Funny Girl, but I think it was the age difference that
Well-
I couldn't get with.
That was the director's problem with casting her as well. However, as we know, film is not as forgiving as Broadway is, and on stage, it's very likely that the two of them could be cast with that big of an age difference. Obviously, if it was Funny Girl, the movie,
Yeah, not so
not
much.
going to happen.
It's
Yeah.
easier to mask on stage.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought that I actually really enjoyed it just because I'm a
Woohoo!
Broadway.
Yeah,
I'm a
Sarah.
Broadway freak, and I agree that the chemistry on camera was not as
Apparent?
apparent. But I just love the coyness that she was playing, and she's just such a natural with the way she carries herself
an
incredible
when
performer.
singing Broadway
Yeah.
music
I mean,
songs.
and Leah Michelle, I mean, just to mention it, I know we've said it before on the show, to come back in the way she has after everything that happened with Corey is an incredible testament to who she is as a performer, because she is there doing the work week after week.
And I also liked it because it was a small taste of what we'll eventually see with her character. And we know that Rachel has loved Fanny Bryce forever. And then, so we got just a small dosage of what we'll get in the future.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we switched gears again to Blurred Lines, Robin Thicke's song with Pharrell Williams, of course. And this was, I think, most of the guys from New Directions, Will, Jake, Artie, and Kitty and Bree, so also the girls.
Awkward.
I mean, just literally throwing guys against lockers and rubbing your butts on their penises. That's what was going on in
It
the
was
school hallways.
so awkward.
It was
yes.
super awkward. I couldn't agree with you more.
It also sounded like a Kids Bop song almost.
This was my bigger issue.
Did it not? When I closed my eyes for a second, it was like, "It's and everybody get up.
Yeah. There's a
what?
real risk in taking a song like this that has been played all summer long. Everybody's heard it the same way 100 million times and trying to change it up. And I felt like for some reason this version, I normally love when Glee does that, and for some reason this version didn't do it for me.
Yeah, first of all, like I said last week, I'm over the song. The thing I didn't like about it was, one, everyone in the school was singing. I mean, they were going down the hallway, so we saw a bunch of random people we've never seen also singing and dancing to the song. And two, Bree keeps on looking at Jake, and there was a whole lot of weird eye contact throughout the
Rubbing
whole
up
number.
on him.
Yeah, and so that just kind of always inserted itself throughout this whole number, which took me out of it, and yeah, I just didn't care for this.
Yeah. Moving on to my favorite number of the night, which was If I Were a Boy. It was exactly, to me, the right song choice for that moment.
Without a doubt, the best song of the episode.
Yeah.
Unbelievably sung. Such great emotion. I mean, obviously, this song's a little different because parts of it are romantic. But I thought it was an amazing choice.
Yeah. We agreed on something, Roxy.
Again,
Oh my god.
too.
Breaking.
literally out of the water, out of the park. The song was it was amazing. I had chills. It was amazing. And I think everybody in the chorus room was feeling the same thing. Actually, not acting, but just like listening to that performance. It was insane.
Right.
Loved it, or?
Oh, I completely agree.
Okay,
it's such a it's a relatively common situation in high schools, but you don't really get
What's a
always,
relatively common situation?
for a kid to be in that position and to have to feel like he can't be or she can't be herself because she's subjecting herself to being bullied. And, you know, unless you're a really good friend to someone like that, you don't often see the emotion that comes behind it or comes with that. And this was just like the perfect way in this situation with Unique to express the struggle and the sorrow that comes from that kind of life.
And I loved how this seemed like the only number throughout the whole episode that actually went full length. All the other ones, you know, they get shortened, but this went like the whole entire time, which allowed him to express, you know, all of his emotions and his problems, and in the proper way, though, to really address it.
I just really appreciated. It felt like one of the more emotionally profound performances we've had in a while on the show. Obviously, the Corey tribute had those kinds of performances, but just like a typical episode, it felt very emotionally deep for an episode that didn't feel necessarily that way throughout.
Right.
That being said, moving on to Wrecking Ball, which of course is a Miley Cyrus song. We've heard a lot in the last few months. It was sung by Marley. Obviously, Roxy wants to jump in first and, you know, give her opinion.
Marley felt uncomfortable twerking. Marley felt uncomfortable being Gaga, but Marley didn't feel uncomfortable performing Wrecking Ball, like, half naked. Marley is way too sweet for this song, and honestly, I don't think Miley Cyrus is that great of a singer. A performer is a different story, but as a singer, no. Marley has a 10 times better voice, in my opinion, and she just it lacked emotion. She was just cheated on, and I don't know. To me, it was flat.
And another thing, yes, and Miley Cyrus is not the greatest role model for kids these age, you know, the teenagers. Like, she's not someone you should look forward to. And then I honestly, I never listen to Wrecking Ball because I can't stand Miley. But that's just my personal opinion. So I don't know what really goes on in the Wrecking Ball other than the fact that I know she's breaking through walls. But there was a moment when Marley's throwing like bricks through glass. I'm like, are we really condoning this? Are we teaching girls who are being cheated on?
It was mimicking the music video.
That's what I was just about to say.
Be angry and go through this behavior and throw bricks at things when you're angry. Like, that's not a message we want to send to teenagers.
Here's the thing, lyrically, I think it works, and they could have performed it differently and not just mimic the music video. Because if you just go with the words and let her express it in that emotive way somehow and not try and copy Miley, then I think it might have been okay.
I was gonna say that Miley's antics sometimes overshadowed the performance, and what's interesting is
Miley's or Marley's?
Miley's.
Okay.
Miley's antics sometimes overshadow her ability to sing a song. There's actually, if you go online, a director's cut of Wrecking Ball that is just her singing with tears in her eyes.
Right.
And you hear her voice, and it is a very different experience than watching the Wrecking Ball video. That being said, going back to Glee, Marley's performance tonight, what bothered me most about it was it didn't feel emotionally charged after being cheated on, and it was like the PG version of Miley's naked Wrecking Ball video.
Right. So glad
there was nothing raw or truthful about it.
Yeah, and she was like in this leotard, and it just felt odd.
The worst part was the second it ended, the next thing we see is Marley with Mr. Shu in the chorus room. There's a bunch of other people, and she's like dancing and laughing, and I'm like, WTF?
Yeah.
Did I miss something? Like, I don't even understand. I mean, if you've ever been cheated on before, you know it feels like goddamn daggers. Like, when you love somebody and they rip your heart out. And we saw that when she was totally there when she confronted him. I thought the emotion was there. It was, but then it just was gone.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like daggers. And then, okay.
It just felt like she was like tossing a brick through a window
Yeah.
because that's what she was told to do, rather than like the emotional charge behind why that was happening.
It was the bootleg version of Miley's video.
Well, I was just
and
like,
you're just going through the motions of like, oh, there was a wrecking ball there, and there were walls, and she was throwing stuff. We've got to make her do those same things.
I was
Like,
gonna say, and we saw this last week with Katy Perry and Roar. They did like the jungle theme, like from Katy Perry's video, and I think it's okay to have a new take, Glee writers. Like, do something different. These songs are great, but you don't need to make their video again.
Right. I've seen it.
Yeah, like,
With
We've
the
all
artist.
seen it.
yeah, exactly. Like Miley was naked, Katy Perry in a rainforest. Like, we get it. We've seen those. We just want something. We want the Glee version of it.
We
and
want originality.
I
Yeah.
get it when it's like the Beatles and you want to do something that
Like,
was old school,
an
but like,
iconic moment. Yeah.
Or like when
But-
they did Grease, and it was very
but for-
akin to
yeah.
it, but it works.
but they're still on MTV.
Yeah,
These
but-
music videos are still out.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
thing is with Beatles and Grease, they're more homages to them. They're respecting them and showing how great they are. And these are just like the versions that they're doing with Miley's video and Roar. They're just replications. they're not
And-
really honoring
And
anything.
I was gonna say next week, of course, we have Billy Joel, and it's the music of Billy Joel, so we can expect to see some of his most iconic.
But
music.
that's okay.
Yeah,
Different.
very different. And finally tonight, On Our Way, it's by the Royal Concept. It was all of New Directions. It's actually a song I'm not particularly familiar with. Maybe you girls are.
No, I was surprised too when they were like, "Let's get back to our roots," and then they picked the song. I maybe have heard it once. It sounded familiar, and I'm pretty well versed in the music. I
Yeah.
mean, that sounded. I
I mean, Roxy
No, we
knows what
get
she's
it.
talking about.
yeah, I clearly don't because this must be a very popular song that I was unaware was.
Maybe it's
didn't-
not our generation.
I didn't hate the
guys.
song. It was fine, and the song was good. But when they were like, "Let's get back to our New Direction roots," I wanted a kick butt song,
I wanted a kick butt song or a Journey song. Like I know like
Yeah.
like
it's
an epic kick butt song.
like it's
like a
the
season
obvious,
one kind of feeling
Yeah,
kind of song.
it's an obvious choice because like the joke is that Glee always goes back to
Right.
Journey, but in a lot of ways there wasn't a lot of lightheartedness in this episode, and it felt like maybe a good Journey song was a place to end it. I don't know.
The thing is that, yes, I don't know the song either all that well, but I was thrown off by the random merry-go-round that was on the stage.
That threw me off.
And what was the point of that? I don't know if that was part of the music video that goes with that song, but it was just so random.
They just wanted, it seemed like they wanted it to be this fun, uplifting moment, and like we're all back together and we are who we are. And I wasn't sure that, maybe because I don't know the song and I need to look up the lyrics more, but it didn't feel that way to me. Like just in like the staging of it, it wasn't like, oh, this is so uplifting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Plus,
completely
there's
agree.
drama going on with the performance, like with
Yeah.
Jake and Marley, and
Yeah.
just the tension there. So how could it be completely uplifting?
Fun and
Yeah.
uplifting. Want to jump into some news and gossip? You guys ready?
AfterBuzz TV News.
I'm just still looking at my comment rider sideburns. What?
Yes, I know. Really broken up about it.
I'm really, really torn up inside.
Yes. And you're going to be more torn up in a second here because I'm going to start with the hardest piece of news we have
Good.
tonight.
Yeah, it's hard.
Get it out of the way.
So Leah Michelle did an interview with Elle magazine. We ran out of time to talk about it last week. It'll be on newsstands next week. It's their December issue. She looks beautiful on the cover, by the way. But she talks about her mental state after Corey's death. I never thought I would be in this position in my whole life. Now I'm in this position and you can choose to rise, and that's what I'm going to try to do. I know Corey would want nothing more than for me to take this situation and use it to help people. It's very hard, and you have to be very strong to come out alive. But I think by doing the best for myself, by showing that you don't have to lose yourself, maybe someone else will feel some sort of strength or comfort.
I mean, it's just such a perfectly crafted answer, and it's exactly what she should, and we would all hope she would say. Do you think that she goes over with her public, like, memorizes these responses, or do you think just she's so graceful? I mean, how does this come to be?
I mean, that's a great question. I would imagine she's obviously talked to her publicist about the direction. I don't know if she rehearses answers with her publicist. That's a tough question to answer. That being said, having interviewed Corey, I mean, it seems so true to what their relationship was. And that seemed really sweet to me. It wasn't something where she was like, I'm going to do this because I think it's the right
No,
thing.
I'm not saying it was contrived in the least bit. I was just curious, like, how do you phrase something so perfectly?
It is really
it encompassed
beautiful.
everything that she needed to.
I think she definitely thought about it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot. Like, when I do talk about this, what will I say?
Yeah, and it was also really sweet. She mentions that Kate Hudson, who we've seen on the show,
Yeah,
opened her home to Leah Michelle and all of her friends and family right after this happened because, as you know, living in LA, or we live in LA, that the paparazzi is relentless when something like this happens, and she couldn't go home. So
she said that she went up to her and said, I don't know what I'm going to do or where to stay. And she was like, well, you're staying with me. It's done.
yeah,
So-
exactly. And so, I mean, it's so nice to hear, once again, we've mentioned it before, but there's an absolute Glee family. And in the aftermath of this tragedy, you're seeing that Glee family, and even to guest stars like Kate Hudson, that she can really go to these people and depend on them. So
Right.
That's sweet.
moving on to some hopefully a little more positive news and gossip. I don't know. The Muppets are coming to Glee.
I saw a picture of that.
Yeah, Leah Michelle has been trying to do some fun things on her Twitter, and she posted pictures of her and Adam Lambert, Naya Rivera, and Chris Colfer, all with Muppets characters. So that'll be
love it.
really fun to see. I hope that's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's cute because it kind of like resembles them in a way.
Exactly. And also we have Blake Jenner. He is creating his own indie film. We've seen a lot of actors do this.
Chris Colfer.
Yeah,
Lightning strike.
Yeah, Chris
Struck
Colfer.
by lightning.
Lightning strike.
Good
Struck
movie.
by
Good
Lightning.
movie.
Yes, with Sarah Hyland. So Zach Braff, people like that have asked in a Kickstarter campaign for funds from fans or from anyone who feels like they want to donate. So they're trying to get $100,000 to finance Billy Boy. It's an indie drama that he wrote and will star his real-life fiancée, Melissa, from the show. So that's exciting, too. And it centers around a high school senior trying to turn his crime-ridden life around after meeting a waitress, and they'll play opposite each other. So Glee fans out there, hopefully this movie will get made. Donate for it if you can. And
Is that confirmed that they're engaged?
they are. According to this article, they are real-life fiancés. So
Oh.
yes,
Because I think
last
I was reading they never
I don't
never
think
said
they,
like
I don't
yes
think
we
they
are.
officially confirmed it, but I think it's
Definitely.
I think people saw the ring.
I think it's like everything but confirmed, basically. Like, it's not been officially said, but the ring is out there, things like that. And then we have one more article about, so it's kind of a prediction for the show, and that's why I thought we would end with it and talk about whether we think this is true or not. So in a later episode, Kurt will sing with Adam Lambert's character, Starchild, a song that's kind of a love song, I guess. It hasn't really been revealed what this song is yet, and that's making fans curious on Twitter about whether that will become a relationship and whether Blaine, he'll end his relationship with Blaine.
People were tweeting with us about it, and also I saw it on our YouTube page asking if we would be a fan of that couple. I don't know. I'm gonna have a really hard time if Blaine and Kurt break up.
I love Blaine and Kurt.
Me too.
I will be sad. I like Adam Lambert, don't get me wrong, and
Me
I think
too.
Starchild is
Yeah.
a fun character, but don't break up one of our favorite
and,
couples.
and
Yeah.
the thing is, like, we saw Blaine cheat on Kurt, and you saw how devastated Kurt was after that. I don't think Kurt would do the same thing to Blaine.
I don't think it's going to be cheating. I don't think Kurt would do that. I think he would end things first, but I don't think it's going to happen in general because, let's be honest, they're our it couple now.
Yeah.
They're the couple of the show now.
It could just be a test, another test for their relationship.
I mean, I don't think that's going to be clear sailing for them, but I hope that it's not Starchild that comes between them. So should we jump into predictions with that being said?
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So I'm going to start out with a Kurt prediction. I think that this tattoo situation, he's trying to be like, I'm crazy, I'm whatever, and it's going to lead him in some other direction. I don't think it's that he's just going to have this band and be this crazy outgoing guy. I think he's going to find something that he truly loves. And that's actually is my prediction, that I think that could be the thing that splits him and Blaine up, if anything. I hope not, but that's...
And then they would get back together when he refines himself or whatnot.
Or when they find a way to be together once, you know, like once... I think as you're growing up, you split with someone and you can get back together because you refine your way. Or you find a way to be together on these paths, but sometimes you have to split up to figure out the paths.
I predict that Marley and Jake are done for good, and that Marley and Ryder will be together in the near future.
That was my prediction. No,
Well,
yeah, I really think
get
that's
y'all on.
yeah. No, I honestly think this is going to be the beginning for Blake and Marley.
Yeah. They're going to be a cute one for sure. That's a cute couple. So, thank you so much for watching, though, and hanging out with us again. We love Glee and talking about it with all of you. So keep tweeting and commenting and doing everything you're doing. We see all of it. And you can find AfterBuzz on Twitter at AfterBuzz TV and me at Stephanie Wenger.
At Roxy Striar.
At Sarah with an H Mendoza.
All right, see you next week, guys.
And at Marisa Serafini. Or Serafini TV. There you
Oh,
go.
I was like, as we're going around the table, I was looking for you. All right, well, thank you again, everyone.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.